Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be taking a look at two brand new kits from a company called Meng Model. You can see that there on the bottom of the box. I think we have taken a look at a few Meng kits before, specifically the World War Troons tank kits, which were also snap together kits. So just like those World War Troons kits, these two kits here are also kits that can be built without requiring paint or glue. Both of them are kits that can just be snapped together, just like a Gundam kit. So this is, of course, Gunpla TV, so I don't want to take a look at anything that's going to be too terribly difficult to build and put together. And you might be wondering, what the heck does a space station and a truck have? What do they have in common? What do they have to do with each other? So both of these kits are based on a movie that was released in 2019 in China, and that movie was called The Wandering Earth. And if you have not seen that movie, and if you are kind of curious to check it out, the movie is available to watch internationally on Netflix. So when I was building these kits, I decided to give it a quick watch just to see. I didn't watch the entire thing, so that's actually going to be a good thing, so that way I don't end up accidentally spoiling the movie when talking about these kits. But I did watch about the first 40 minutes of the movie, which is long enough. Eventually I'll get around to watching the rest of it. But yeah, it's kind of an interesting movie. The premise of the movie is that our sun is it's becoming too large, and eventually it's going to destroy the Earth if we do not do anything. So all of the governments around the world, they end up uniting into one unified Earth government, and they create this plan to save Earth by equipping Earth with a bunch of giant engines that's going to propel the Earth from our solar system to, I think, Alpha Centauri, which is the next closest solar system. So yeah, it's maybe not entirely too realistic, but it's a science fiction movie, so what can you do? And I mean, it looks kind of cool. It's got some really great graphics or special effects in it, and had created a great space station. Some interesting truck design too. But yeah, check it out if you're into science fiction, want to see something a bit unique. Yeah, Wandering Earth, and that is going to be found on Netflix. All right, so for these two kits, something these two kits also share in common, besides both being a truck and a space station, or both being from that same movie, both of these kits are 100% molded in ABS plastic, which is different than what we usually get from the Gunpla kits. So usually the Bandai Gundam kits, for the most part, they are, especially the newer ones, that are pretty much 100% molded in polystyrene PS plastic for like perfect grade inner frames, and for some parts on real grade kits they still use it, and for a lot of the old master grade inner frames they would also use ABS plastic. ABS plastic tends to be a bit more stronger, a bit more durable, so that's why you kind of find it more as being used for like the inner frames for Gundam kits. But lately, these days, especially with the HG kits, you only really find it the polystyrene plastic. So ABS plastic for both of these kits here. All right, so let's get started. Let's first talk about this space station, shall we? So give me 1 second and move this truck out of the way here. All right, so first up we are going to take a look at what they call the Navigation Platform International Space Station. So yes, navigation platform. So as the Earth is traveling through our solar system in order to get to the next solar system, which I think the entire journey was going to be like 2,500 years or something, and this movie takes place, the very beginning of the movie starts at like present time, I believe it was, and then the rest of the movie takes place like 17 years after the very beginning of the movie. So the main character that you follow in the movie is actually going to be the son of a guy that serves aboard this International Space Station. That's going to be quite a long assignment, so I guess he's stuck on the space station for about 17 years, although I don't think he spends the entire 17 years awake. I think they have cryostasis, so he gets to sleep for a lot of the journey. But while he's asleep and while he's serving on this space station, his son is growing up on planet Earth. But yeah, the father of the character serves on this space station and navigation platform. So as Earth is traveling through the solar system, this space station guides it. It travels ahead of planet Earth, and it acts as just like a navigational type system to guide Earth somehow as it's traveling through the solar system. So that's the entire purpose of this solar system. As far as the kit goes, this kit is molded 100% in the same colored gray plastic, so you don't get multicolored parts as far as this space station goes. However, you do get one different non-plastic part for the station, and it's kind of needed because, as you can see, the space station is quite long. So you can see my hand for scale there. So it's quite a big item here, and if it was just to be 100% plastic, it's probably not going to be very strong or very stable. It'd probably snap quite easily in the center. So what they have done for this, in order to be able to keep it nice and steady, and I have to be careful here because you see this little like pointy spike here, and there's one here too, and there's also spikes hanging off the side of here. Be careful when handling this thing if you decide to go ahead and buy and build this thing, because these spikes are a bit fragile, maybe a bit could possibly bend them easy. Now I have to be careful. The stand that it comes on is kind of nice, but it's probably not the sturdiest thing ever. But yeah, as you can see there is actually a metal rod that you're going to be putting on the inside through the entire center of the space station. So this thing does have a metal rod running up and down the length of the station in order to keep it steady, and that's kind of needed, really needed for this kit, I have to say. But yeah, the whole kit is 100% something that can be snapped together. Now when I was building this, there was one thing that I wanted to mention. One thing I thought that I wanted to mention was on this giant front kind of satellite dish section part of the space station here, you have these little tiny like W shape type little, I don't know what you would call those, trestles or something. But yeah, each one of these is kind of individually put in here by hand, just snaps into place. And these parts are very thin, so when you are building it, be careful when handling these parts, because I tried to be very careful, but even though I was being quite careful, I thought I still ended up snapping one in the center at one place, but I was able to glue it back together, and actually I can't even tell which one it was that I broke, because that glue that I used just melted those pieces right back together, and yeah, I can't even tell. I wouldn't been able to tell you which one it was that I ended up breaking. But just be careful when installing those pieces around the center of the satellite here. So, but I gotta say, it kind of looks really cool. Whenever I have a chance to kind of build, I mean, Gundam is always fun to build, but I do like to sometimes every now and then build something that is a bit more unique, and especially if it's like a space station or something else kind of science fiction related, I usually jump on those chances. So I like, even though this is ABS here, it's got pretty nice details throughout, I have to say, and especially here on the engine on the back. So the front of this is going to be the satellite dish. This is the front part of the station, and on the back here we have an engine which propels this thing through space. Now you can tell here this part was not molded correctly. It was kind of pre-bent. Now if I really wanted to try, because this is ABS plastic, I could use like a hairdryer or something hot to try and bend that back into a more normal shape, but for me it was good enough. But yeah, really nice detail on there. These parts here, they can move around as well if you really want. It might not have been something they really kind of planned on, just the way that it was constructed allows you to move it around, as well as this kind of clock looking thing here on the front of the station. This can be swung around into different positions as well, so if you want to have it pointing to whatever time you want, you can. That's not actually a clock, that's just something that rotates around. But Yeah, kind of cool looking space station. If you are a fan of science fiction type of builds, then why not give this one a build? Alright, so let's take a look at the truck next. Alright, so the next thing we're going to look at now is going to be this CN114-03 cargo truck, transport truck, I guess you can also call it. So this is going to be in 1/100th scale. So that means that this truck is actually the same exact scale as a master grade Gundam. So you could, if you really technically wanted to, pose this somehow with a master grade Gundam, being that they are in the same scale. Although this is not something that you would see in the Gundam universe, but it is possible. So as you can see here on the box art, they're showing a very kind of snowy scene here. So in the movie, the main character that you follow, which is like, I believe is 17 years old, 17-year-old, well, might be actually older than that, because I think the movie takes place 17 years after the first scene, and he's a really young boy in the first scene. I don't know how old he is, but the main character that you follow is the son of the guy that serves on that space station, and while since Earth is traveling through the solar system and it keeps getting farther and farther away from the sun, it's of course the sun is kind of what heats up the Earth, makes it nice and warm. So as it gets farther and farther away, the outside gets really cold, and there is a lot of snow on the outside of Earth as it is traveling through space there. So most of the people in the movie, they actually live underground since it got really cold on the outside of the Earth. But the main character, for some reason, I only saw 40 minutes of it, and I'm not quite sure why. But the main character in the beginning of the movie, he decides that he wants to take his sister, not a real sister, I think she's just adopted. He wants to take his sister, and they want to go up to the surface of the planet. Well, I don't know why, but yeah, so he goes up to the surface of the planet. Once he goes up to the surface of the planet, he ends up stealing a truck, which is actually, I guess his grandfather works as a truck driver on the surface. So he stole the key for one of these trucks from his grandfather, and he takes his sister, and they take the key from the grandfather, and they steal a truck, and they go for a drive. Why, I'm not quite sure. But yeah, this is actually the model of the truck that they steal to go for a drive on the surface of the Earth. And this is, when you first watch the movie, this is the configuration that you're going to see this truck in. It's got this kind of a open type of bed on the back, and there's something jiggling on the inside there. We'll take a look at that in a bit. But I gotta say, this truck was more difficult, more complex to put together than the space station. The space station had a bunch of little tiny parts, but the truck has quite a bit more to it. So it's a bigger box, and there's definitely more to this as well. So let's take a look. I'm going to just start taking a look at the truck, so we can actually separate this part from the back bed here. So let's take a look at the cab section of this truck first. So there is one thing I really like about this cab section here. Not only do you have some parts here that are actually molded in color and snap on the outside, which gives it that really nice look. You get rubber wheels like you would see on a normal kind of car model as well. And this everything no glue is required at all for this. Everything snaps into place. But this truck has really nice details on here. I really enjoyed all the little tiny nooks and crannies and details that Meng Model put on this truck. It looks quite nice, and you even get the clear parts there, and you can see two kind of driver figures on the inside there, and there is a cabin. It's kind of hard to see the inside of that, but there is a cabin on the inside of this truck as well. Lots of little tiny detail parts. Now, since this is molded into ABS plastic, some of these parts are a bit more difficult to squeeze together than what you would usually find on a Gundam kit, so be a bit careful when squeezing the parts together, because there are things here, like you see that handrail there. Actually, you see how it's kind of bent in the middle? That's not actually because of my fault. That was already pre-bent down like that when I opened the box from the factory. Just something that happened during the manufacturing, but that's okay. It doesn't really stand out too much. But because of parts like this, and actually there's another one on the other side here, and there's these little 2 tab type things that stick up on the top of that truck. Now you're going to have to end up squeezing a lot of these parts together with quite a bit of force. And you don't really, sometimes, some places you don't have like a really good places to hold it with your fingers. So, and some of these parts kind of get in the way, so you have to really be careful where you are squeezing the parts together, because it would be quite easy to bend or break some of these pieces. So if you decide to buy this one and put it together, definitely be sure to take care when putting it together. Now there is one cool feature on this truck, and this was actually kind of a first for me that I can maybe think of, at least with this type of switch that is equipped on this. But this truck came with a little, where did I put that box? I believe I showed it off on that Gunpla TV when we were previewing it, but it comes with this little audio module here. So it's got a place where you plug in the battery, and this is the speaker, and here is the switch. And the switch for the audio module for this is here on the side. And when you are building this thing, this is really quite tiny, it is quite easy, I found, to accidentally flip the switch and then this thing starts speaking at you, and that actually kind of startled me a number of times when I was building this thing, because I wasn't expecting that. It just goes off. So yeah, be cautious when building this thing, because this thing will definitely startle you. You might wonder, all right, so what noise does this make? And it's actually somebody speaking in Chinese, and I do not know Chinese, so I'm unable to decipher what the heck they're actually saying. But I'm going to go ahead and push this button here. Hopefully my microphone is going to pick it up. If you can understand it, please put in the comments what the heck they are saying. Although because this is a little tiny speaker, it's not the clearest thing to understand, but here we go. Let's listen to what this truck says. Okay, I think that was the end of it. So yeah, it's a bit long, actually, I found, and I was kind of driven nuts. Actually, I just realized that I actually had probably broken something. Speaking about breaking parts, I think I must have broken something just now in handling this kit. But anyway, yeah, that little speaker thing is on the inside of here, and that goes off sometimes when building it. But it's a cool feature. Now, speaking about breaking these parts, this ladder here, I must have just hit it right now, because earlier it was fine. I'll have to glue that back together. Oh no. So yeah, it's got a bunch of like little tiny mirrors and everything that a little bit fragile, these little parts here. So it does have some other clear parts here for like the headlights and whatnot, as well as the mirror. So that is kind of quite cool. But yeah, those little tiny things that hang down when you are trying to hold or handle this thing, it's going to be a bit easy to break parts, unfortunately, as I actually have probably just done here on the video. But ABS plastic, this is really loose now, so that's going to be hard for me to keep on there without breaking off. I'll have to see if I can glue that on here. But yeah, really kind of cool details on the inside. But the cabin part, this is quite cool. I love all the details on here. Let's take a look at the underside of it here. We can see there's like a transmission and exhaust pipes as well. So it looks quite cool, I have to say. I really enjoy that. But yeah, oh no, a bit fragile. Be cautious when building it. All right, so let's take a look at the truck bed. So this is the first open kind of truck bed. On this one as well, I'll have to be careful because you do have these little ladders hanging out from the bottom. And on the inside here, they give you this one part that's not actually attached to anything else for this kit. I don't think this is going to want to focus on this, but here we go. I believe that this is what they call a starter core. At some point in the movie, like this is right about when I stopped watching it, I don't want to spoil this movie, but at some point the boy and the grandfather, they end up needing to deliver what's called a starter core to one of the engines, so they kind of get requisitioned to deliver one of these starter cores, and I believe that's what this part is, and I think it's just supposed to go on the inside of a truck bed. But yeah, so they lose this open truck bed at some point in the movie, and they pick up a different truck bed. But let's take a look at this first. So I have this one also equipped because this one comes molded in the color part, so it looks quite nice. The wheels are the wheels can articulate, but the truck bed, this doesn't open or anything. But other than that, you can see where it connects to the forward section of the truck here. But yeah, this was kind of quite cool, quite nicely detailed, I have to say. You can see all the, still have like exhaust sections running out the whole underside of the truck. I'm kind of curious as to what some of these parts are. I mean, this part here in the back looks like it should be a differential, but why would you have a differential in the back of a cargo section of a truck? I don't know. But all right, so there's this section here. Let me see if I can pull this off. This section, oh, there you go. So you can actually separate this part from the truck itself, and there is an entire different closed type truck bed. And that's actually what you see on the box art there. You see this truck is painted in red, and it has this red lines running on the downside of this. I believe this one is actually, you are able to open this one, whoops, as I break more parts off of it. I think it wasn't actually, I think, yeah, it just snaps open. Doesn't have like, it doesn't have a hinge or anything to really open, but you are able to open it up. No real details on the inside of it, however, but you are able to open this up. And actually, this, if you have this like displayed on a model shelf, this would be a great place to maybe hide some hidden stuff you don't want others to find, because maybe somebody wouldn't bother to look on the inside of a model kit like that. So this also has a ladder that hangs down on the outside of it, so be sure to take caution. And I believe you should be able to snap this one down into place on this truck as well. There we go. So yeah. So you will be able to equip this one onto the wheels too. So you have your choice if you want to have that open bed like I had it equipped originally, or this closed bed. They both look quite good. Now this truck is going to have these yellow pieces molded on here, whereas this truck would actually require red. Now for that, this kit does not include stickers, but they do give you, because Meng Model is more of a traditional model maker and not a company that does a whole lot of stuff that can be snapped together. So they are not shy, not scared to include full-on water slide decals. So if you would like to build this truck instead of the yellow one, then you can just slide these bad boys on there. Just dip them in some water. That's one sheet, and you got this whole other big sheet here with the red stickers for that truck bed, and some of the yellow things if you want to build that yellow truck. So yeah, a lot of water slide decals if you'd prefer to do the red truck over the yellow truck. So the space station did not have any water slide decals included with it. Only this truck has the water slide decals, and only the truck has that kind of nifty audio module, which ended up scaring me a few times while building this kit. Another thing to mention is this comes with this kind of, oh, this was kind of interesting. It has like an instruction text table. So the instruction manual here, let's crack this open and take a look on the inside. So you'll see, although I didn't need it at all, really. And this instruction manual is going to be 100% in Chinese, but if you don't understand the Chinese, or if you're really curious, then they have this. You can find, I guess it has a page mark. It tells you what page and what it's talking about. So page 3, it mentions these things in Chinese. Of course, if you look this up, okay, so this one is going to be cab, and it's going to be that. We got tire in English and tire in Japanese, and you got the Russian for tire too. So yeah, it's in Chinese, English, Japanese, and Russian. So if you speak any language other than these 4, you're going to be out of luck. But there you go. I guess also if you would like to practice reading Chinese, hey, you can use this for that as well. All right, so there we have it. These are the two brand new Wandering Earth kits from Meng Model. Quite nicely detailed. Have some small parts you will have to kind of be cautious about when handling, like that ladder on the front of this truck, which I broke. I am so sad. I'll have to see if I can glue that back now. All right, but that's going to be it for these two trucks. Hope you guys enjoyed watching something that was a bit different from the usual Gundam. Stay tuned. We will cover more Gundam at some point here in the future.